Live from the edge of the Great Red Divide, from the little blue island in the middle of America. This is the Heartland Mamas podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Henry. The Heartland Mamas podcast can be found on all podcast platforms, including Substack, YouTube, TikTok, while it lasts, Blue Sky, I will post it onto Facebook and, of course, YouTube. So here we are, people. All podcast platforms like subscribe and share. But oh my God, the stuff you all have told me in the last few months since the election is about to put me, this resistor, right over the edge. You all know I was raised by what we would call now a gun nut, that I was taught to shoot when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I'm a damn good shot. I used to hunt with my dad, until I realized he was just had me there to clean things afterwards, and I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. Um, my dad was sure the Russians were coming. He was sure of it and I kind of bought into that until I was, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years old, and I realized that the Russians were not going to start their invasion in Glen Ellen, Illinois, and I kind of walked away from it. Then when he was about 95, he died at 98 in 2020, not from COVID. He looked at me. We were driving through the Morton Arboretum, and he said to me, Heidi, I'm so sorry I wasted all that time and money when you were small on guns and ammo and making you kids worried about a Russian invasion. He goes, hell, they just opened the door and let him walk right in. So he was referring to Trump. So my dad, World War II veteran, crusty old gun nut, was so upset that Trump had opened the White House door and invited Putin right in, uh, figuratively. And it crushed him. It really hurt him. And, he was a World War II vet, so we were fighting fascism and Nazism and, trying to save America, trying to save the world. And Trump opened the front door and let him in. I mean, just blew that poor old man's mind. But I appreciated the apology. I know it was heartfelt from him. But you all, progressives and liberals, there's a reason if I have stuff, it's because I live way out in the country, and it's not that I'm paranoid about robberies. You'd have to get past my dog. It's because varmints eat my chickens, and I tell them not to, but they still come around. But why are you buying into this? You are out there buying guns and taking training because, progressives and liberals, Democrats, we read a lot and we follow the rules. We take all the training we can. Why are you out there doing that right now? That is so the antithesis of who we are as people. Um, Being locked and loaded. I mean, seriously? One of my friends just sent me a picture of her new Kevlar vest. I'm like, where the hell are you going, Iraq? Are you going into, I don't know, Palestine to fight for the Palestinian resistance? What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't mind if you do this. This is your choice. And, I'm all there for freedom of choice and responsible gun ownership. But my God, safety first. Gun safety. God, I've advocated for it most of my life, especially as an adult, because, like I said, I was raised by a gun nut and there was no gun safety in my house growing up. My parents' house in Glen Ellen has got a gazillion holes blown in it from me showing our fun guns to our friends when our parents weren't home. Even though, yes, they told us not to ever touch them, they were never secured. And we had the coolest toys on the block as far as we were concerned. Hey, want to see our gun? Or one of 15 loaded guns around the house. We got to be really good at spackle. Really good at spackle and touch-up paint. Even some woodworking putty. That's the truth. If you ever look at 108 South Ellen, Glen Ellen, it's full of holes. Closets, floors, all over the place. Anyway, I thank God nobody got hurt or killed. But gun locks, trigger locks, breaking things down into multiple pieces and keeping them in different parts of the house or different buildings, gun safes. And if you need extra warning, Go to the pound and get yourself a big barking dog, and that'll give you a little time up front to get yourself prepared. What are you planning for? What are you thinking is going to happen? Because I am a little blown away at what you all are doing. You're preparing for Armageddon and you're buying right into their weird fantasy. See, evangelicals think that there's something called the rapture. If they really understood Christianity, they would understand that that was something that was made up in the 1800s. And it's not true. And it's not in the Bible. And it's because they haven't read their Bible that they really don't know. Revelation, the Revelation of John, was added to the Bible way after the Bible was like published. They're written down the first few times. There was no publishers back then. They just scribed it over and over again. And nobody knows, truthfully, if you look up the history of the Revelation of John, where you would see this apocalyptic stuff, nobody's really sure why it was added in when it was added in. The thing with biblical history, as a Christian myself, biblical history fascinates me. Why are things added and things left out? Why is the verbiage changed to make people think that homosexuality is wrong when it was really, abusing children, pedophilia that was the original writing, when homosexuality was normal in biblical times and normal through most of history. It just was something that happened and something people did. And it wasn't a big deal until they needed to control the populace, so they changed the wording. And that was recent. That was recent in just the previous century. So when you study the Bible and you want to think about biblical prophecy, you have to understand the history of all of these prophecies. And you have to understand that I'm going to quote Sky Daddy, that some people put it, was put in place to help make people mind, to keep people in place, right? Even in our U.S. history, slaves were told about God as a punisher, and the fact that their suffering on earth was so great because their reward would be in heaven. Well, that's really hard to say to somebody who's really suffering. Well, you're going to suffer a lot now, but your reward will be in heaven. No, that's not even what it says in the Bible, okay? It says the meek will inherit the earth. It says to love one another as I have loved you. There's all kinds of really nice things on how to treat foreigners in your land and how to welcome strangers into your house and, to do unto others as others have done unto you, or unto me, actually, is what it says. So there's all kinds of things in there that evangelicals omit. I used to blame the Baptist for this because I married a Baptist, and it took me a long time to convince the Baptist theories out of him. It's okay to dance. It's okay to drink. Not that we do a whole lot of it, but a lot of weird thoughts. I'm like, where did that come from? So, I just want you to know that when the evangelicals are buying into the apocalypse, it's because to them, that's their big reward, is chaos and confusion and hurting people you don't agree with. And none of that's in the Bible. Some of that is some Old Testament dogma, but if you're a Christian, you embrace the New Testament first. And they're not doing that. They're forgetting that love one another. Really difficult for them. So they invite this apocalyptic thought process. And you, my liberal, progressive friends, are buying into it. And you're buying into it big time. I mean, I have seen everything from hoarding toilet paper to, and I'm a big one on telling you to get your disaster preparedness kit in place. I mean, mine is sitting right next to my podcast studio. It's been there. I always have one. I rotate through the stock every year, usually in February, because before we go into tornado season here in Illinois, I want to make sure I'm ready just in case with fresh stock. So I've seen your disaster preparedness kits. You all are planning for this Armageddon that the evangelicals are calling for. Good God. Don't you understand that the gravy seals will only attack as long as there's cold beer and fast food? And when those two things run out, they're going to go back home to their mama's basement because they can't take care of themselves. They're not competent adults. Look at that shaman guy lived, the guy with the hat that invaded the Capitol, lived in his mother's basement. That's where he's at right now. He just went home after prison and got back in the basement because he's unable to take care of himself. Think of the people you know that are deeply MAGA. They're never going to make it. If the gas stations aren't open, if there's any interruption in the supply line, they lose their fucking minds. They do. Don't always be prepared. But don't buy into their chaos. Do not buy into their chaos. And if you continue to weaponize yourselves, I'm telling you, as a mom's demand person, as in every town, as a demand a seat endorsed candidate 3 times, be safe. The most likely person to die by gun, if you have a gun in your house, is yourself. Look at Missouri. All those white men that off themselves down there, it's got the highest rate of white male suicide by gun in the United States. And that's because in Missouri, as soon as you're born, they hand you a gun. Because anybody can have a gun. You go to Kroger or Walmart or whatever they have down there, Piggly Wiggly, and you fill up your cart with your bacon and your beer and your bullets and anything else you want. Bacon, beer, and bullets. Get yourself a, whatever you want. Snub nose 38. Something little. Something big. But anybody can have a gun in Missouri. We know in Illinois that a lot of our gun crime in Illinois, especially in the city, those guns don't come from here in Illinois. Hello, Indiana. Hello, Missouri. Hello, Louisiana. Any place where it's open carry and open season on people, which is pretty much most of the states, you're able to buy your weapon of choice easily without any issue. In Illinois, it's a little more complex, and I applaud you all who are taking the gun safety courses that you're taking. And there's like 6 of you that now have do concealed carry licenses because you sent me your pictures. What are you thinking? Nobody's going to blow you away at the Jewel. Or at Kohl's. Good God, people. You've lost your minds. And here's the other thing. Something I had not heard about since I was a kid. Back when I was a kid, I used to show dogs. We had German Shepherds, and they were very highly trained obedience dogs. And then we did Schutzhund training, which is attack dog training. And we did Schutzhund training with these dogs, and they were wonderful, and nobody would mess with you. But I'm going to tell you something. If you do Schutzhund with your dog, it is your dog now forever for the rest of your life. It's not going to be the kind of dog that the grandkids are going to wrestle with. It's just not going to be. I mean, some of them are, but some of them can be highly dangerous after that because you have trained them to be. So you have to be a responsible dog owner then, right? I mean, you all know, if you know me, you know I've got 3 dogs, and there's one of them that every time, because I live out in the country, and weird people pull in my driveway and they want to sell me, they're going to come paint my buildings. They're going to come and pave my driveway. They want to sell me windows. They want to clean my gutters. And there are people that don't live around here that I wouldn't know. And I have one dog. You don't get out of your car if he's out, and I'm not. You just don't. You just don't do that. And I'm sorry that he's like that, but at the same time, his job is to protect our family. That's his job. He takes it very seriously. Very seriously. So I think about him and the fact that we spent 5 months with a dog behavioralist so he would be a good boy and listen and not be completely Schutzhund nuts. You all are playing with fire when you go and adopt a pit bull with a biting history or a German Shepherd with a biting history, a bite history, you need to be careful what you're getting. I know you're preparing for Armageddon, but don't do that to that dog. Schutzhund training is great. Maybe just go for obedience next time. But anyway, not exactly where I was going with this podcast today, but it's where it went. And, I'm looking down here at my script and thinking, I went way far away from what I was going to talk about. But I want you to understand, liberals and progressives, Democrats that just purchased a whole lot of weaponry in the last few months, be careful, be safe, be sane. It's one thing I live, have got acres and acres and no little people in my house. And the cats don't usually bother anything. So I just want you to know that it's really important to keep your children safe, your grandchildren safe, you safe. A moment of anger, a moment of depression, a moment of anxiety. You all know I work with veterans with profound PTSD. There's a reason we have a club where they are able to leave their weapons with somebody else while they're going through some stuff, right? It's to protect them. Everybody goes through those dark times. You need to be prepared if you're going to be a gun owner, and I think they need to talk about this more when you go to purchase a gun. You need to be prepared that those times are coming, and you're not going to give in to them. And you're not going to allow somebody in your family, your teenager who's having an emo moment, go through this. Because it's forever. So, gun safety, go to Mom's Demand, go to Everytown, learn about gun safety as part of your training. And I appeal to your value system that tells you that democracy, that diplomacy, that perseverance is what really pays off. And I wish you all the very best from the edge of the Great Red Divide. This is Heidi Henry. You've been listening to the Heartland Mamas podcast. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.